if you've ever seen just an absolute destruction in the nicest way possible, this will be very familiar here. But I think it starts with this first. Now, this is how this whole thing started. And Steph, once again, have you followed this at all?
No.
Okay.
This is new. I didn't see this at all.
Okay, good. So if something happens here that doesn't make sense, just tell me to take a step back, okay? Because I feel like as I was watching it, it was like, wow, this is fascinating to watch, okay?
Okay.
It starts with a third party. This girl over here, her name is Quilang, okay? And she wrote this post saying, hey, new folks, I'm Ray. I work in the game industry in UX, R&D, and game production. I worked on various software and hardware for Xbox. I now work as an independent media producer and had the privilege of working on the Dota Internationals 2023 and other gaming media projects. And while that is what it is, she also included a picture of a game called Ori. Now, Ori is it's like a 2D side scroller. It's really the art direction on it is really, really good, and it was received exceptionally well, right? So what happened after that was she posted that, and then the director of the game came in. You see below, he says, well, I'm the director of both Ori games, and I don't know who you are and how you're affiliated with Ori. So he's like, okay, I'm sorry, I know pretty much everybody. Who are you, and how would I know who you are along the way? And it seems like a pretty logical thing. And she responded, once again, by the way, she has since gotten privated through here.
Of course.
So I'm using screenshots here along the way. She says, yep, I worked with Xbox user research and Deborah Henderson along the way. Now, on the surface, they're just having like a little conversation. Okay, so Thomas, the director of Ori, comes in and says, oh, well, okay, that could explain it. I didn't want to cause you any trouble. I just saw you posting that you worked on Ori, and I had no idea who you were. Since you're calling people names online, I thought it was important to inform people that you never actually worked for Moon and that you didn't ever directly engage with anybody at Moon. Always be nice to people, Ray, even those you disagree with. Now, he's actually referencing a conversation that this person had, and where she went out and did the typical thing of yelling at people who she disagreed with. And so he's in the nicest way possible, going in and just being like, yo, listen, how about you just be nice here? And I don't know who you are, but it is what it is. Now is where things get fun. The name Alyssa Mercante pops in. Now, Alyssa Mercante, she is a blogger for Kotaku. I hate to use the phrase journalist because she's not.
I think that's the perfect description.
Yeah. I don't think journalist is the right word to use. No journalism degree, no journalism used. And that will actually be pushed to the forefront here along the way. So she came in immediately after that and said this simply, you're a dickhead. That was her response to this guy for having this nice, calm reaction. And he responded with, I don't know who you are. Right? Just more or less, I have no idea who the hell you are or why you feel that I'm a dickhead along the way.
Yeah.
But it goes back to, apparently she wrote a hit piece about Ori and Moon Studios a couple of years ago. And in that, she said in response to, I don't know who you are, maybe you forgot. Like she's living rent free in this guy's head along the way, right? And in this article, she says, Mailer sometimes argued with the veterans that he brought in, and he changed his mind about the decisions they made and would overrule them. Mailer would also forget about agreements and then argue for the opposite to happen. And that impacted the work of multiple people, multiple developers said. Now, she throws this out there like this is some sort of pipe bomb. Like this
that doesn't sound controversial at all.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all. It sounds like regular, like, especially keep in mind, he is the game director of this.
I was going to say he's the director. So things change along the way. It makes sense. It doesn't sound controversial. That's not an own.
Not in the latest not and that's the thing. You, Steph, are logical in that you're putting this out there and you're like, okay, yeah, it sounds like something that would happen along the way. And if you want to get in, you want to dissect this a little further, once again, he would sometimes argue with the veterans that he brought in, and he changed his mind about the decisions they made and would overrule them. Well, that's kind of what the boss does.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, he's the director.
he's the director of the game.
He has every right to overrule something.
Yes. So he responded to that. And this is just such a wonderful chef's kiss. And I want to read this to you in the best way possible. It says, "Hey, Alyssa, you're apparently a journalist from Kotaku. So I'm guessing you haven't worked in actual game development yet. Let me try to explain the thing that you posted about, which I'm guessing was from that hit piece from a few years back. Yes, I'm guilty of what's stated in that image. And that's okay because that's the normal creative process. We brought lots of veterans into Moon because generally great people want to get the opportunity to work on great projects, and that's the goal at Moon. We always set out to create the kind of games we'd love to play ourselves that fill some hole in the market because for some reason these holes haven't been filled yet. And so we're all incredibly passionate about what we do. With great talent comes lots of enthusiasm and passion, which absolutely leads to arguments because ultimately everyone is working hard on getting their vision into the game. But also, everyone at Moon understands that we're working together as a team. So the point of these arguments is then to try to convince each other why this or that solution would be the best thing for the game we're making, and the best solution ought to win. Most of the time, the beauty behind these arguments is that everybody gets a chance to contribute, and more often than not, the actual solution will be one that ultimately everybody contributed to because we're dealing with very complex issues all the time, and complex problems often need complex solutions. It is often a chaotic process, but it's controlled chaos. And yes, absolutely, every now and then I have to put my foot down and set the direction because I'm the game director, and ultimately it's my responsibility to ensure that everyone knows where things are headed and that decisions get made. And yes, it also happens that I agree with a certain, and yes, it also happened that I agreed to a certain decision, play tested some more, and changed the direction after. Again, to me, this is normal. It's a normal part of the process. Since things get clearer and clearer, the more stuff gets implemented and the more we play and test. To me, this is just how creative work happens. It can be painful, but my job, like any good director, is to understand what's going on and make sure the right decisions get made, even if some work might get rendered useless in the process. See here, even Miyamoto is guilty of that. Now, Shigeru Miyamoto, obviously the mastermind behind all these amazing products and IPs at Disney. So he's throwing out, like, this is kind of the ace of spades here. He's throwing it out there. He's saying, like, hey, even the best of the best does this, right?
And Nintendo, not Disney, right?
Right. And this is Nintendo. Did I say Disney?
Yeah, you said Disney.
Oh, sorry. I meant Nintendo. Yes, Shigeru Miyamoto of Nintendo. Obviously, I don't know why I said Disney. A few years back, we hired some folks that didn't really fit our culture, so we had to part ways with them. And then this article happened. Wasn't a great feeling to see some ex-Moon folks talk badly behind our backs, but ultimately it just made it clear that these folks shouldn't have worked at Moon in the first place. And I hope they're happier now wherever they landed. I don't know why you're out here cursing out game developers and what your whole deal is, but I hope that that gave you some insight in the creative process and its messiness and beauty. I hope you have a nice day. Yours, Dickhead. So he handled this in like the most professional way you possibly can, right? And he laid it out there, and this wasn't good enough. Because keep in mind, this is a journalist. This is a video game journalist who their job is to research and know these things and reach out to developers. And if she was smart, she would then take this opportunity and bring it in and turn it into some sort of content for Kotaku. What I learned from my discussion with the Ori director, right? Or the ins and outs of game development, you don't know. Some sort of story that you could create out of this interaction, because I see this as a huge learning experience for her and really everybody reading that thread. But I feel like what he said was very much common sense. The idea that we're going to have meetings. Someone's idea is going to prevail in this meeting along the way. Is it going to be mine? Maybe. Is it going to be yours? Maybe. Do I, as the boss, have the opportunity to veto that? Because ultimately, the way that this game is played and the way this game is received is ultimately on my, it comes at my feet, right? I'm the one responsible for this. I am the director. So I have ultimate veto power when it comes to being the director of the entire game, regardless of who I bring in or whatever. And guess what? Sometimes that work will get left on the draw, you know, on the cutting room floor. We see that all the time in every industry where things get cut. But so he responded with, in the nicest way possible, classy. And then we had the 180 degrees of that, which is Alyssa's response. Her response was this. Just a simple back. I ain't reading that. I'm happy for you, though. Man. Or sorry that happened.
So she pulled the TLDR. Too long, didn't read.
Right. Too long, didn't read. Didn't want to read.
No.
And
she has her own narrative, and she's sticking to that. She doesn't want to be proven false. And she doesn't want to, least of all, she doesn't want to be mansplained. And I think that that's what she took this as. She's probably being mansplained too. So she doesn't want to, no, not going to happen. I'm not reading that.
Now, why did she respond this way? Well, she posted about that as well over on her X account, which, by the way, I'm now blocked on her X account.
I'm blocked as well. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you why I'm blocked in a second, but this is what she said. She said, this is because a man who allegedly fostered a sexist, oppressive workplace decided to wrongfully publicly accuse a woman of lying about her job history, which sent the army of chuds after her. And I called him a dickhead for it. He could have DM'd her. He knew what he was doing. A lot of assumptions there. Now, she called him a dickhead because she's making assumptions that once again, the studio director or the game director doesn't know who worked on his game, and that Mercante knows better than the director of the game that the original person said she worked on. Video game journalism here. That's what we're doing. Steph, I tried to collect my thoughts. I was actually going to do a standalone video on this earlier today. And when I saw this, I was just so, you know what how I wanted to respond? Let me tell you exactly how I wanted to respond. But I didn't do this because I'm a nice guy. The way I wanted to respond was, you're a cunt. That's what I wanted to say. But I didn't, because I took a second and I thought about what I wanted to say. But the reality is that this lady is the biggest, selfish, most narcissistic cunt on the internet. And I'm sorry, that's the reality of it.
No, I completely agree. Yeah. I don't think this is for everything that I've read about her, and this is new. I didn't know this happened last night. But for everything that I've read about her and all of the tweets that I've seen about her, and like Hypnotic has been doing so many streams, and I've seen a lot of his videos about Alyssa Mercante. And it seems like she's not a games journalist. She doesn't like gamers. She hates gamers. So why are you in that industry? She doesn't seem to like the industry that she's in, the job that she's in. Why are you there if you don't like gamers and you don't like game developers and you're not backing anybody? Who are you backing? Right? You're not doing the,
or who is backing you? That's the big, like, that's the thing is the reality is that she has no power, right? And Kotaku has no power in the industry anymore, right? The people who have power are shows like this. People that she's complaining about, she's lashing out against, are the people that she feels threatened by. Why? Because we have 4,000 people watching our show right now, right? That's why. Because she feels threatened because people, the normal man out there, sees through the veil of bullshit that they're throwing out at all times. And
any logical thinking person sees through the veil of bullshit.
And that's what we're dealing with here. And this is the issue, though, is that I've talked about the disconnect here, right? The disconnect between developers, the media, and the customer, right? And apparently we have a little boys club over here, or a girls club, or we just have a little club over here that the game developers and the media are a part of, right? And traditional YouTubers, people who talk about this stuff, they are not in that club, right? But here's the problem, is that our club's much fucking bigger, right, than their club, right? And there's this idea, this goes back to what we talked about with Ubisoft here, is that there are in fact these activists that are intertwined with all this stuff. And Kotaku is such a shell of its former self. It's really just the name, and that's about it. You've seen its traffic drop dramatically, and I know they went in and they hired their new CEO, or their new CEO about a month and a half ago, whatever it may be. And it'll be interesting to see how quickly they turn over to guides, because they will turn over to guides, because nobody reads their stuff because you have to have some sort of relationship with these people and with the people who are writing. And there's zero relationship. That, like, how is she even remotely likable or relatable to anybody?
Well, she's not. I feel like it's somebody like her is so frustrating, because you mentioned power, right? And they're really grasping at it because they're losing relevancy in today's day and age. The stuff that they want, the stuff that they're pushing for, people don't want it, right? Gamers will support good games, and the games that they support are really games that, I don't know, Sweet Baby Inc. are involved in. And so it's a grasp for power, and they know that they're losing relevancy. So a person like Alyssa Mercante is very frustrating, because on one end, it's like a double-edged sword. On one hand, you want to call them out for all of their bullshit and tomfoolery, and on the other hand, someone like her doesn't deserve any type of spotlight, good or bad. Someone like her really thrives on, and I feel like a lot of her pieces only garner a lot of views and clicks because, and it's so funny that she calls a lot of people grifters, but because, she thrives off of the drama, off of the controversy that she creates herself. She'll write these articles and she knows that they'll get hate clicks. She knows that they'll get hate views. She knows that, people will bring attention to it because it's clickbait. She's creating these stories for the drama. And that's a grifter, and she calls so many people grifters. It's like what you are doing right now, because you're losing so much relevancy and people don't like you. You are literally grifting, because you're trying to, and you're clickbaiting, because you're trying to get all of these people to read a really non-relevant article from a non-relevant news source anymore, because they're losing so much of their relevancy. So on one hand, it's like, how do we deal with this type of person? Well, we starve them of attention, because she loves it. She thrives on it. She loves, putting stuff out there on Twitter, like, oh, this person's talking about me again. Even Hypnotic has said, like, he knows that Alyssa Mercante watches his streams, or that people, close to her watch his streams, because she'll tweet about them. So she loves it. She thrives on, the attention. And in order to deal with that person, you have to starve them of attention and not bring any type of attention to them. Just starve them of it, and they'll eventually go away. So, but on the other hand, she deserves to be called out for behavior like this, because it's such nasty behavior. Well, and why on earth would you do that?
Right. And here's the thing, right? The thing that I think bothers me the most about this is that if I am a journalist, right, go whatever platform you're on, right? If I'm at IGN, if I'm at Polygon, especially if I'm at Kotaku, don't you reach out to her and be like, yo, you're making us all look bad. Like, you are giving everybody a bad name by being the giant hose beast that you are. And I'm going to, she made a lot of assumptions here in this tweet. The idea that, this guy fostered a sexist, oppressive workplace and decided wrongfully, right? So I'm going to make some assumptions here. Somewhere along the line, she was hurt. She was hurt by somebody or something, right? And it damaged her in a major way. And that's why, like, look, I called her a cunt. I stand by that, right? I don't use that word very often at all, but that's the next level of narcissism and bitchiness here, right? I don't even know if I've ever said that word on the show before, but somebody hurt her. And for that, I actually have sympathy for her, Like, do I agree with her in any way, shape, or form? No, but I honestly feel sorry for her because she is such a hurt individual, and she feels the need to take it out on everybody in this hobby that so many people love. And she feels the need to inject herself and inject her ideology because somewhere along the way, somebody hurt her, whether it was her parents, whether it was her dad, whether it was a boyfriend or a girlfriend. Somebody hurt her to the point of irreparable damage. And now that's what you're seeing is a broken person who just lashes out as a self-defense. Because at the end of the day, she's not confident in herself. And all this puffing out her chest, look at me, I'm so sexy, blah, blah, blah. At the end of the day, you're dealing with an insecure narcissist. And that's the worst kind.
Yeah. I don't feel sorry for her. I don't feel empathy for her. I feel like I should, but I don't, because a lot of the stuff, I feel like she has a lot of hatred in her heart. And, that's why she lashes out at people. The hatred within, comes out at the hatred outside, unfortunately. You have a lot of hate in your heart. You're ugly on the inside. You're ugly on the outside. And she brings a lot of it on herself. Whether she was hurt in the past, those are things that she needs to deal with herself. And if she's going to refuse to help herself, then I shouldn't care. If she's not going to do the work, I shouldn't care. I'm not going to feel sorry for her because she lashes out at so many people and she brings so much hate onto so many people. And and she writes hit pieces on so many people. And the reason that she's calling this man a misogynist and all that stuff is because she wrote that hit piece and she's backing that hit piece. She still believes everything from this article that she wrote however many years ago. And so she's trying to bring more attention to that. That's why she pulled, oh, you forgot, I'm pulling this from, the piece I wrote about you. I'm putting that so that way people will see that, and it'll hopefully in her mind bring some hate to this person, to this director.
Right.
That those are her intentions. She has very bad intentions from the start. So I don't feel sorry for her at all. She's bringing it all on herself. If she's not going to help herself, then I shouldn't feel bad for her because that's just what she wants to do. Those are her decisions as a grown adult. And if she's not going to take any steps to better herself or to improve herself, then, why should I feel sorry for her? I don't.
Silver says, no, Craig, don't turn her into a victim. She's no victim. She actually deserves accountability for actions. No, I agree. I'm big on accountability. And to be clear, I'm not making her a victim at all, right? She's taking those actions. She's the one who's portraying herself like this. And if that's how she wants to do it, that's fine. But once again, it goes back to insecure narcissism. That's the best way that I potentially
narcissists don't see themselves as wrong. They'll double down on everything. They don't see themselves in a bad light. They see anything that is anything that's wrong with it, or anything that you view as wrong with them, that's your problem. That's not their problem. There's nothing wrong with them.
Yeah.
So that, she doesn't see that there's anything wrong with her. If she is in fact a true narcissist, it's something wrong with you, not her.
Right. And, and we're going to get to some other responses from some folks, including her nemesis online, Smash. Alyssa tweeted this out. Says, you can ooh all you want and just pointing things out or making people aware. But if every time you present someone to your audience to, quote, warn them, sharing pictures of that person and the social accounts, that person immediately gets flooded with harassment and their sensitive information leaked and shared, you know exactly what you're doing. Don't play dumb. It's not cute. And Smash just said, someone is transcendingly mentioning me again. Please, Alyssa, for everyone's sake, find a fucking mirror. Right?
Yeah. She's accusing people of this stuff because this is the stuff that she participates in. She's done this before. So because she's a narcissist and she does these types of things, she assumes that other people do that as well. Because that is her reason for putting people's stuff out there. So, her minions and her following can go after this person and look into this person. That's her reasoning for doing a lot of this stuff. She's assuming that other people do that as well. And that's just not the case. The case is that this director saw this person, tweeting about the game that he worked on. And he's like, I am the director. Who are you? So it's a simple question. Who are you? So I know who I'm dealing with.
here's the reality of this. Like, she has her minions and they're all members of the Access media, right?
Mhm.
And that's fine. The reality of it is this. Those members of the Access media, they are terrified that they're not going to be relevant. They're not going to be relevant in 6 months from 6 months, a year from now, right? They are absolutely terrified at the idea of not having a job. And they look at us and they see everybody that's on this other side, the YouTubers who are live streaming, making content, whatever, and they laugh at us. But the reality is that we're laughing at them because we're playing the long game and we're the ones who are going to win. They're old news. They are dinosaurs in this space, dinosaurs with no skill set at all to make it on their own. And they realize that. Otherwise, they would have been doing it already. They would have done it 5 years ago. They would have done it a year ago. They would have done last week. They would have left and immediately started their own thing, but they can't do it. They're not talented enough. They're not skillful enough. They're not pretty enough. Whatever it is, they're not enough of it. They're just cogs in the wheels of the video game industry. That's it. And we're the ones laughing because we're the ones succeeding. I said this over on X, and I said that my initial response was what I wanted it to be. But this is what I actually put out there. I said, I try to be nice people. I really do. I try to find people's best attributes and let them know they're appreciated. But damn, this lady is the worst, most narcissistic asshole I've ever seen. I mean, top of the list for sure. So much so that I was actually inspired by a comment and put out this poll, which, by the way, I encourage everyone to go and vote on this poll. Who is the biggest narcissist? Is it Alyssa Mercante, Darkside Phil, or the narcissist Lex Luger? Who that is a wrestler from the 90s, Steph. I don't know if you know the narcissist at all, but that's the narcissist from the 90s. So let's vote here, Steph. Which we want to see the results.
I just voted.
Oh, what's the voting results right now? What's it say? Oh, it's a landslide right now.
Yep.
Oh yeah, yeah. Maybe I do like that some people are actually voting for Lex Luger, which is great. Hey, you found it. The place for normalcy on the internet. It's awesome. Hit that subscribe button right here and then go watch another video right here.